Hi there, I'm an amateur, and today it seems I'm stuck in Rain World. This game is pretty weird. Like, really pretty weird. And difficult. It can also be quite scary. Anyways, today I am going to be talking about what makes this game special. In order to preserve story stuff, all of the footage will be from the first segment of the game. But if what you've seen so far seems interesting enough, I wholeheartedly recommend buying and trying the game out right now. Go leave, do it. Do it! Okay? Still here? We'll get going. With that out of the way, let's start from the top. Rain World has multiple difficulties, but the normal one is this one, the Survivor. As the Survivor, you take the form of a white slug cat who seems to have been separated from its family, and that's all. That's all you have to go off of when you start this game. Speaking of starting, here we are. Slugcat can move, jump, eat, and pop off. Why does it need to do these things? Well, Rain World is not a very forgiving place. Food will be scarce, as little Slugcat can only eat small fruits and meats, and on top of that, it seems everything bigger than you is out to kill you. But that's standard stuff. The first thing that sets Rain World apart from other games is, well, the rain. After a certain amount of time, designated by a little symbol in the corner of the screen, rain will fall, and if Slugcat does not find shelter, it will die. This drives almost every system in the game, as you can only explore so much in a day before you need to get inside. Additionally, in order to use these shelters to avoid rain, Slugcat needs to have eaten enough food to hibernate. All of these, along with traveling in the right direction each day while exploring, make up the game in its entirety. But how does exploring work? Are there quests? Yes and no, but for now you just need to wander around. Slugcat can find things other than food, like spears and these shiny pearls. These items can be used to bypass other species living in the world, either through trading or through killing. While wandering, finding shelters, and eating, you are bound to run into a plethora of amazingly terrifying creatures. There are lizards, vultures, needleflies, scavengers, and stuff like that. It's safe to assume that anything you find in Rain World is either something you can eat or something that is going to try and kill you. Every species has its own abilities and pathing, which you can also learn to abuse. Speaking of species, Rain World's species are one of its most interesting attributes. What's so cool about them is that they live independently of the player. They form factions, they fight, they make friends, they eat, they sleep, and they just plain exist. Nothing represents this more than the scavengers. Depending on which scavengers you give pearls, their working currency, they can become hostile or welcoming towards you. Here's the first example that the game openly showed you. After a pearl room that appears in the garbage waste, Slugcat enters what is called a scavenger den. Here, a large group of scavengers, or scavs for short, has blocked progress, and they do not want to let the Slugcat by, as can be seen by their hand gestures and eyes. However, once they do notice my pearl, they suddenly open up their body language and gesture past them, allowing me to go by. In another example, I stumble upon a scavenger merchant who trades me a couple of spears for a pearl that I happen to have on hand. Note that while the location of the scavenger's home base is regular, all of the actual interactions are completely generated and unique to the player. Throughout the day, scavengers roam freely, and in your travels, you will see them in situations completely unique to you. This leads to every playthrough of Rain World being extremely unique, and makes the experience a lot more memorable. The AI can also bug out on occasion, and shenanigans ensue. Remember, all of this acts independently of the player and reacts to interference caused by the player. It's a truly incredible system. Now, what about the locations? Where are we exploring? Well, Rain World is quite open. You can technically go anywhere you want, as long as you have enough karma. The game begins in the outskirts, and as you travel, this little yellow guy helps guide you. The entire map is quite expansive, with certain areas completely optional and hundreds of paths to your destination. This destination can be anywhere you want, although the path recommended by the game through our yellow friend takes you on like this. As aforementioned, you begin in the outskirts, learning the basics of life and death. Then you travel to the industrial complex where the game opens up, food becomes more scarce, and you meet some new friends. After that, Slugcat enters the garbage wastes, full of, well, garbage. From there, shoreline, and then a particularly odd facility with the name Looks to the Moon. Everywhere seems extremely destroyed, the remnants of something that has long been out of commission. Everything is wet. The long disabled machinery is slowly being eaten by the earth. Except for Looks to the Moon. This area is different from the others. As you progress in shoreline, you can observe a low mechanical hum. As you approach what appears to be a monolithic computer. In fact, inside the now flooded computer, filled with terminals, wires, nuts, and bolts, some emergency lights still blink. The first signs of electricity in Rainworld. Traveling deeper into the facility, claustrophobic paths that seem to perfectly accommodate Slugcat's body lead you to something interesting. What is that? It can move, and seems to be making noise. It isn't hostile. In fact, the stark ray of sunlight coming in through the roof makes it seem almost angelical. It doesn't seem to mind your presence, unless you try to take one of its buddies, and is attached to the wall with a heavy wire. Scratch what I said earlier, it can hardly move. It seems immobile. After you enter and it finishes making noise, it kinda just sits there, on an island of rubble. How does this thing survive the rain? Might as well wait around and see. Rainworld is a special game, and it also has a very deep, mostly non-verbal story. It tells you next to nothing, and you just have to run with it. If you want to discover its secrets, it's like you're just gonna have to play. And with that, I'm signing off, idiot.